You may have an idea in your mind of what it means to be romantic, to show manifestations of love, idealize reality, be sentimental maybe, but what does it mean to be romantic with a capital R? I'm not talking about 1001 Roses, chocolate bouquets, profound declarations of love, eternal love. No, rather I'm talking about the movement Romanticism. This was a short period in literature, art, music. It started in around the 1780s and the tumultuous period in the lead up to the French Revolution. In short, this was a period of change, and it ran up until the 1830s in Britain at least, up until certain reforms started taking place. If we were to distill such a vast but consequential time, I would distill it as such. This was a period that encouraged the spontaneity of the creation of high art. It emphasized imagination, the beauty of nature, and the feelings of the individual. It was about beauty and truth and the aesthetic categories of beautiful and the sublime, but it was also about the spirit of revolution. Let's break it down. Few movements in literature emphasized the imagination as much as the Romantics. They romanticized imagination. They made imagination romantic. Is that perhaps why we have that picture of the bohemian poet wanderer who expresses these profound and sentimental verses? Perhaps, but for the Romantics, they genuinely believed that imagination is above all else. People could transcend the boundaries that are imposed to us by our humanities, rise above it, and that was the poet's role too, to bring it all down to an earthly level, to serve as the connection between the human and the divine. Poets, surely with their boundless imagination, they could reform the world. They could shape the way we see the boundaries of our potential and what we can and can't do. The poets who can see beyond their circumstances, who can see distant lands, surely they're the ones to transform the world. As in A Defense of Poetry, 1821, Shelley wrote, "The poets can be the unacknowledged legislators of the world." Why? Precisely because it was poets who have the power to redefine the boundaries of what we see, to transform the world as we know it, to alter our interpretation of the world. Who but those who write such beautiful verses, surely blessed by the angels themselves, who but them can be more suited to lead us to a better vision of a world, to a more coherent one, to a more beautiful vision of the world? Even the most uncreative people, through reading such beautiful verse, can be taken to new heights. The poets are those who are meant to rebirth us spiritually, religiously, mentally. They measure the circumference and sound the depths of human nature. But what is human nature? How to distinguish it from other kinds of nature? For the Romantics, nature was at the center of it all. Their verses were filled with admiration for its beauty. They encouraged humans to, excuse the pun, interact naturally with the natural world. In his 1798 Frost at Midnight, Coleridge wrote, "Nature was the great universal teacher. It was the ultimate source of inspiration. Nature was the mother of imagination. The environment would be the leader that would bring us to new heights, because it would be what would call us to explore those distant worlds, literally, metaphorically. Because if we could write those beautiful words, if we could see that nature without seeing it firsthand, but just experience it through someone's words, then surely there was no limit to human potential. Surely there was no limit to the distances that we could go. The Romantics called upon us to explore distant lands that we've never seen before, to interact with nature in ways that we've never experienced before. The world was filled with beauty, endless beauty. Nature was beautiful, and Romanticism was all about the beauty of it all. Keats wrote, "Beauty is truth, truth is beauty." None admired beauty as much as the Romantics. It was everywhere, but still they drew distinctions between two aesthetic categories. For Burke, in his philosophical inquiry, he wrote about the beautiful and the sublime. Beauty was something small, clear, something you could look at and be easily pleased, and the sublime was something vast, unimaginable, something that shocked, something that for Burke provoked terror. It was not so clear what the sublime was, but it was clear that it was impressive and majestic. It had the power to transform it all. For Burke, beauty was delicate, small, colorful, while sublime was something that was terrorizing, and Kant took it further. He said beauty was simple, it pleased universally, while the sublime was confined to nature. Nature could be violent, unpredictable. This was the opposite of rationality and order. So Burke too wrote, "All that stuns the soul, all that imprints a feeling of terror, leads to the sublime." You can easily see why Romantics are still seen as that one wandering bohemian poet. I mean, Beauty, imagination, nature, the distinction between the beautiful and the sublime, it all seems rather academic, rather floral, but don't allow yourself to forget what this movement was born out of. Spilled blood, the desire for change, a radical, revolutionized spirit. This was a movement that grew from a tumultuous period. Think Samuel Taylor Coleridge with his France, an ode. Think Blake's The Tiger. Think Shelley's England in 1819, which literally spoke out against a protest. The Romantics were motivated, driven by a desire for change. They sought to help the poor. Yes, they emphasized the individual with our personal feelings and our imagination, but this was born out of a desire to transform the world. They stressed that people should follow themselves, not just blindly adhere to conventions and ideas imposed upon them by others, by society. If in nature we have balance, then why is it that we in our lives don't have balance? And they sought to, in showing the beauty of how it could be, of showing what the ideal world was, to inspire us to craft our own vision, to redefine things, to make the perfect world, to blossom anew. They stressed realizing all these things for yourself, and to realize these things you need to feel. So they rebelled against the Enlightenment's period of rationality and strictness and order, and they encouraged the individual. They encouraged it with a view that the poet could bring true beauty into our lives. The poet could bring about change. The poet can encourage us and change things. I've talked now much about poetry because this is what the series will largely focus on, but the movement is not just about that. The movement was about essayists and novelists and philosophers and of course artists, because what better embodies the movement than artists who literally painted beauty, who depicted the natural world? Think Friedrich David Caspar. What better painting embodies the movement than Wonder Above a Sea of Fog? Just picture that painting, look at it. Look at the lone figure admiring faraway lands. Look at how sublime the fog looks. You wish to follow, to see such beauty, to live in a different adventurous way. The figure shows it all to us, doesn't conquer, doesn't dominate, yet exists nicely with the fog in it all. The movement was varied in terms of genres within, but it was also varied in terms of inspiration. It was not inspired by an era, by an event. Revolution sparked the spirit, sure, but so did medieval romances, Shakespeare, ballads. The Romantics saw beauty in everything, they glorified it. They were not limited to one simple thing, and to boil it down to such limits, it confines us when Romantics were about exactly the opposite, about stretching our boundaries. And so this brief introduction can only be an overview and nothing more. But in that variety, it does not mean that none stood out more than others. To begin with, this series was centered on British Romanticism and the Big Six: Blake, Byron, Coleridge, Keats, Shelley, Wordsworth. And each one of these poets writes so differently that their work can help you understand the movement better, that to read their work, to explore the themes, to focus in detail line by line, can help you understand the movement better than any one video on Romantics could do. So I'm launching a new series on Romanticism, one that has been in the works and the plans for a long time, one that I hope will help you understand the movement better. Poetry analysis, perhaps something more. It will be a long journey, but one that I hope fervently that you will join me on. Thank you.